Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Awakening Her podcast. How are you doing today, my friend? Seriously, how are you? Checking in with the body, the mind, the soul. Are you resting well? Are you hydrated? Have you taken any time for yourself lately? Just checking in. No matter how you're feeling today, whether it's an awesome day or a challenging day, you are welcome here. I am so glad that you pressed play. I was almost just taking a second to be like, is this going to rhyme? No matter how you're doing today, I'm so glad you pressed play. Okay, I'm not a rapper. Let's keep moving on. Because I'm glad you pressed play because we are diving into something really powerful. We all have patterns. We all have things that we bump up against, right? Patterns, habits, things we want to break, things we want to shift, the loops, the cycles, right? The thing you thought you were done with, or the thing that you just can't seem to shift. And we all bump up against this. And so I'm glad that you're here. It's a powerful thing to talk about. We're going to shed some light on it. We're going to give some tools. We're going to give some spiritual perspectives, some curveballs, some breakthroughs, like we normally do here. So I'm really excited that you're here. I know I can relate to this, and I know my clients can. This is just kind of a human thing. When you're a seeker, when you're a self-growth junkie, when you're a self-aware soul here on a manifestation and awakening journey, you are going to bump into your patterns, your cycles. So again, I'm glad you're here. Today, we're going to talk about why this happens, what's going on, and most importantly, how to break free. And I'm excited also to dive in because it's not just surface level. So breaking free is not just surface level. Breaking free is in a way that changes your reality from the inside out, not just try a new thing, try a 7-day habit buster, blah, 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 right? We want to understand it from the inside out and have tools from the inside out and perspective shifts. So I'm excited. This episode or this topic is definitely for you if you're ready to stop repeating those patterns. When you read Breaking the Pattern, whatever came up in your mind, when you're really ready for that, when you've outgrown it, when it almost feels like these patterns are like old energy, but you're moving forward, you're desiring something new, this is definitely the time to hear this. And if you're tired of knowing better, but feeling like you still fall into the pattern, into the habit, right? Almost like it's a compulsion, then I definitely want you to hear this as well. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's just dive in. Take a sip of your water, drop your shoulders, take a deep breath, and let's get into this episode. All right, so first I want to talk about what is a pattern? What is a loop like this, really? So a pattern, we know what the word pattern means, but a pattern in this context is a loop of behavior, a loop of an emotion, an energy you return back to even when or if it's not serving you. So it could be a habit, like I said, a behavior, a compulsion, maybe it's eating sugar or it's, self-sabotage, or maybe it's an emotion like you feel reactive, you feel in lack, you feel alone, different patterns, whether it's about exercise or it's an emotional place. It's an energy we return back to. It's something that is going on repeatedly that we know is not serving us. And you might notice it in your relationships, in your health, in your business. Maybe it's constantly overgiving and feeling depleted. Maybe it's self-sabotage. Maybe it's shutting down and not moving forward. These patterns are just created. I just want to say, how every once in a while I like to depersonalize it and go, you are human. These patterns are not because you're wrong and bad. They came and they were created for a reason. They were formed in moments in your life when your nervous system needed a way to survive. They were created out of coping. They were created out of protection, out of maybe fear, but they were created to survive. They were born from usually pain, as I said, protection, and it's okay. And as you start expanding, you start becoming aware of these patterns on a deeper level. So like I said, you've updated your programming. You are updating, you're healing, you're growing, you're moving forward, right? You're manifesting new things. But the outdated software is still running the show. So a lower energy or an energy in you, as I said, that comes from protection, that comes from survival, that comes from trauma, that is waiting to be seen and to be healed to set you free. So please don't, you'll hear me say this as we go through the episode, but please don't spend a lot of time on trying to just fix the behavior. So people will do things where it's like, I am trying not to, drink alcohol. So I'm just going to put a rule in for myself and I'm not going to drink on Mondays and I'm not going to drink. And that's fine. Do what you want. However, where we really heal the pattern is where we kind of go to work on it. You're a self-growth junkie like me. You look for the deeper meaning. You look for the why. Like, why am I doing this and what's going on, right? So that's where we're going to heal it, not just from trying to slap on something else or implement something or cut out something. It's going to come from a deeper place. So these things that were born out of fear, pain, protection, coping, basically, have been, outdated, and we want to update it. So when we know better, we need to do better. Or when we know better, it leads into this desire to want to change these habits, right? And this painful friction is where the old meets the new. The old crunchy behaviors that don't feel good are also merging with a newer awareness and a higher self and a wanting to do better. So this is the place where your soul is saying, we've evolved, but your body is saying, I'm still afraid. Or your body is saying it's not safe, and that's okay. So a pattern really is this friction point. Well, a pattern like this that you want to change. It's just because there's this friction point between who you were and who you're becoming, or the true part of you. So I want you to hear this maybe even a little bit deeper. The pattern doesn't keep repeating because you're broken, weak, or lacking any kind of willpower, motivation, inspiration. And it's not because you're not trying hard enough. It keeps repeating because a part of you believes that it's safer to stay here, to stay the same. And even if it's painful, it's familiar. And familiar to the subconscious, to the brain, if you guys are members of On the Path, you know what I'm talking about. We talk about the brain a lot. Familiar to the subconscious feels safer than expansion. So the loop you hate, the pattern that you don't enjoy, there's a part of you that thinks, at least I know how to survive this. Or right now, something else is too much, I need to cope. We need to revert back into something I know is safe. Okay? So the loop that you don't like is simply a part of you that thinks it's safer to stay there. And I'm just going to use an example that I know has come up with clients, and I've experienced this. Say there's something with food where you want to eat better, you're even eating a lot better, but then you find yourself binging, or you find yourself going to low vibe food that you're like, I don't even want to eat this anymore, or something. Just take this example. We would wonder, why do I keep going back to those low quality foods? Or why do I keep feeling almost uncontrollably like I want to binge or something? In that moment of wanting to make a new choice with your health, you might have this idea of I can't eat any more sugar and I have to overhaul everything, and that might feel stressful. The thought of cutting out everything you love, or never having alcohol again, or never having sugar again, that feels stressful. So you default back into coping with food or craving something, because at least then you kind of get to avoid that thing that feels hard, right? So we're almost coping with the pressure of what we think it's going to take to change. So we, in some ways, they call it sabotage or whatever, because that's more familiar. Does that make sense? But becoming healthier doesn't mean you have to cut out everything you love. And what if we looked at it as creating, like finding ways to bring in vegetables, finding ways to bring in more water, finding ways to bring in activity, instead of it being that you have to cut out everything. So sometimes, yes, we want to get healthy. Yes, we want to make change, but we're scared. We don't know if we have what it takes. We don't know if we want to go the rest of our life never having gluten again. And all of that seems stressful. And so we resort back into the snack or the food that doesn't, resonate because that feels safe. So it's not actually about willpower. It's about safety in your body. It's about believing it's safe to expand. And sometimes breaking down the narrative of like, oh, getting healthy means for the rest of my life, I have to now go to the gym at 5 a.m. and I don't want to do that. Or it's going to be a lot of effort and I don't have what it takes. Sometimes those thoughts are so stressful to our body that we default back into the coping strategy. But we need to look at it a little bit differently. So this episode isn't about how to go into your goals. We're talking about looping patterns. And those looping patterns are there because there's a part of you that believes it's safer to stay there than to expand into whatever it is that you're trying to expand into, right? Your soul came here to evolve. Your soul's journey is one of evolution, and that involves stretching, expanding. And my team shows it to me like breaking through old skins over and over and over. And every time we face a pattern, every time we face a root or something holding us down, and we choose differently or we heal through it, even just one tiny choice, even just one tiny perspective shift, it's like you allow yourself to expand. So on a soul level, you actually grow. And we all know, well, you guys here would know because you're in this type of environment and community, but your soul is here to grow. And how it grows is breaking through all the different human identities, the limits, and the patterns, the habits, the who we think we are compared to who we truly are. So every time you face an upper limit, every time you face a ceiling, every time you face an old pattern in a healing lens and break through it, you're actually evolving as a soul. That's how your soul chooses to grow, is through the human growing, the human expanding. So you are awakening, not by bypassing pain, but rising through it, by facing it, by being a self-healer, by doing the work. This is you awakening. So it does feel hard. And sometimes it's like, what? I just thought I had a sugar problem. No, it's about you evolving into a version of you that is safe, that is secure, that doesn't need the crutches or the, I don't mean physical crutches. If you need crutches, then use them. But we don't need the coping strategies as much anymore because we're self-resourcing safety. We're learning how to move into our goals in a way that doesn't feel too big, too much, that we end up just defaulting, right? So a little bit more from a spiritual perspective, these patterns are part of your assignment here. They're part of your individual soul plan curriculum. The places where your soul said, here, let's grow through this. So as you break through a pattern, you're not just healing your own story. You're breaking through cycles. You're breaking through cycles your ancestors went through. You're breaking through soul-led assignments. You're becoming a new frequency. This is your soul's evolution. And I've recently, through my channel, become much even more deeply, sacredly connected to, it's hard to put it into words, but how when we go through so frickin' much in life, like those of us that feel like it's just extensive trauma or chronic pain or like these really ongoing, deep, really hard struggles, it's because literally your soul chose a lifetime where you're going to learn so much. Like you're going to learn as much as 10 lifetimes in this lifetime. When we keep going through stuff and we keep having to break patterns and break cycles, it's not because you're a bad manifester. It's because you chose a lifetime where your soul like what do you call it? Like pushed up to its sleeves and was like, this is going to be a hard one, but it's going to be so worth it. Masters choose the path of things like chronic pain or really deep trauma, extensive, over and over again, or really chronic struggles. It's not because you're lost, and it's not even that your whole life has to be like that. But if you've experienced that up until now, it's because you're here for big evolution. Your soul said, these are the areas where we're really gonna grow. So as you break through a pattern, there's so many layers of things going on. Your soul is evolving. So we want to start connecting to our higher self that is free of this loop, that has transcended it, that has moved through, and really allowing them to take the lead, allowing them to show you what is in there, allowing them to guide you to safety and security. And I'm going to go through in a second as I wrap up how to actually go through this as, physically as I can, because some of these, they get very spiritual and energetic and we need to bring it down to the ground. But in essence, I want you to start seeing the pattern. And as you're aware, you're starting to fall into it. We can put our hand on our heart and bring safety into our body, bring safety into ourselves, catching ourselves and saying, I'm safe if I do this and I'm safe if I don't. I choose health. So I'm going to choose to have a glass of water first. Or this pattern where I keep saying I'm going to exercise and I'm not doing it. I'm going to put my hand on my heart and say I love myself. I'm safe either way. But let's just do a little bit of exercise. Let's just go for a walk. Let's do some squats. Let's just do a short workout. It's going to feel so good. And we start to remedy the loop with love, not with more regiment, not with more ego, not with more drill sergeant, with love, consulting our future self that is beyond this. If you know already that this pattern is there because you're working on self-love, that it comes back to self-care, that it comes back to honoring your needs, that it comes back to feeling that you're worthy to show up for yourself, that it comes back to safety or security, we start giving that to ourselves now. And as it comes up, give yourself an insane amount of grace, because momentum takes time to correct and move in the other direction. That will come up again. The pattern will try to come up in like 20 minutes. Have grace and compassion with yourself, but we can start to give ourselves that safety, give ourselves that love, and realize it's a soul evolution. And every time we say, not this time, I choose different, I see the pattern. Or even as you're snacking on the food, you say, I'm giving myself so much love, I'm safe, I'm secure, and soon I won't be doing this because I'm going to learn how to give myself this love, and it's okay. We bridge the gap. We meet ourselves where we're at. This is where our evolution accelerates. When we start to not shame ourselves for this pattern, but instead bring our self-love. When you're going into it, don't add shame, don't add judgment, bring yourself love. You're understanding that this behavior is here for protection. It was formed from protection, and you're just doing your best. You're just trying to survive. It's okay. And we can start to choose differently. So I want to talk now about a little bit more of like a step-by-step, as tangible as I can. So step one, I've already kind of touched in this through the episode, but the first step is that compassionate awareness. Do not shame yourself. That fuels the pattern. So I know from my eating disorder, when I would restrict food, and then binge food, and then shame myself, the shame it put gasoline on the fire. Because from the shame, I needed to cope. Because I hated myself and I would say hateful words to myself constantly. That was so stressful that I needed to cope. Guess what I coped with? Maybe alcohol, maybe food, maybe drugs. And sometimes I'd go to alcohol so that it wasn't food, but then I'd have enough alcohol that pretty soon I'm just binging. And it would be this pattern, because then I'd shame myself for that binging. And guess what I needed to do? I needed to cope, right? So we stop that part of the pattern, and it may not be as extreme as what I'm talking about for you, or maybe it is. But any type of pattern, when we shame ourselves, nothing causes a sugar craving like stress. Nothing causes a donut or fresh bread or whatever chip craving like stress. So when you're stressing yourself out by shaming yourself, it's never going to end in you being stronger or having more willpower. So compassionate awareness is first. Do not shame yourself. Say to yourself with love in your own language, this is my old coping strategy. I see you. I'm sending you love. I see where you came from, and I'm choosing something different. And even if in that time you don't choose something different, you still give yourself compassionate awareness. I'm eating this because I don't feel safe and I'm stressed, and it's a coping strategy, and that's okay. It will shift, but first we have to infuse that compassion. Really let it soak in. And from that place, we become more in line with love. We become less stressed out. We get in the rhythm of loving ourselves. And that really facilitates change. So step 1 is that compassionate awareness. Step 2 is creating safety in the new. We need to teach ourselves that we can create safety when we do other things, when we take steps, when we create a new routine. So breath work, tapping, energy clearing, energy movement, moving it through your body, grounding. You want to start to teach yourself that doing this thing is safe. So we create baby steps where, say your goal is health and you want to be moving forward, take a 5-minute walk, tapping on your chest, breathing through and going, wow, that felt good. That felt safe. That's all we need to do today. Or if we're creating safety in money patterns, saving a little bit, putting a little bit in your savings and going tap, 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 tap on your chest. I'm creating safety in saving. Or maybe it's eating, whatever you're eating, whether it's carbs or no carbs or this or that, creating safety in eating. We reteach ourselves that it's safe to expand, it's safe to work out, it's safe to meditate, it's safe to move forward, it's safe to feel okay, it's safe to love yourself. So we create safety in the new. And if you're part of On the Path, this is a huge reason why I created On the Path, is to give you strategies. If you're not, I highly recommend joining the community. We have so many somatic practices, somatic exercises and meditations that we can, even just 5 minutes, create safety in the now, in the new. So using your tools, looking after yourself, meditating, showing yourself that you can create safety as you move forward. And then the third step is practicing your next level identity of the you beyond the pattern. And just inquiring, how do they handle this? What do they do? And I know for me with things like food, I realized that my higher self still enjoyed things. It was just more, I don't want to say moderation because that makes me just want to barf the word. It's like, blah. But it was just more about, like, it was easy. Like she would have dessert or she wouldn't have dessert and it's not a big deal. She would be out for dinner and, be like, no, I don't need an appetizer because this whole meal is filling enough. Or, yeah, I want an appetizer and I'm going to feel awesome about it. It was that she was just more easy. So I practiced in my eating disorder healing journey, being in that new identity. And it was the me that was peaceful with food. And I realized that sometimes I want an ice cream. Or sometimes I want a Buddha bowl with roasted Brussels sprouts and like beautiful veggies. And when I allowed myself to be easier with food, that's when I started noticing that version of me didn't really need to binge or restrict because there was this middle ground. And that, of course, it was like a 10-year journey of healing my eating disorder. I mean, there was rapid growth in the first couple of years. And then it was kind of just maintaining and practicing this new relationship. But that's really what it was. It wasn't a plan to help me heal. It was actually compassionate awareness, creating safety in my body, creating safety with food, and practicing who is the me that's easy with this stuff. She eats nachos, she doesn't eat nachos. It's not all about good and bad and right and wrong, right? How do they manage food? How do they manage, health without it being extreme? That was a big one for me. I had to learn health without it being extreme. I had to learn how to work out, not 7 days a week. I had to learn how to eat, not with a plan. And that was a huge part of that next level identity. And now that is who I am with health. That is who I am with food, like through and through. And so we just want to start practicing who is the me that's not penduluming from all, penduluming, that's not a word, but we're going with it, from all to nothing, from nothing to all, from 1 to 10. It's 0 or it's 60, whatever you want to say, right? And we practice that. It's all good either way. Who are we being? Okay, so I feel like that is mostly what I want to say. Fear doesn't come from the soul. Control doesn't come from the soul. Shame doesn't come from the soul. Breaking a pattern comes from being aware, in love, creating safety in the now, consistently working at it. You may not find that in one day everything's changed. In one meditation, it's something we start to carve out. We create our new path. So this is how we actually break the pattern, creating safety with that awareness, and practicing that new identity, practicing the version of us who doesn't have the pattern. And how do they respond? And how can we create more safety and security in these new patterns? Have the new things be our coping strategy. Because coping is normal. Coping is human. You turn on the news, you are a parent, you have a bank account, you're an employee, you're a son or a daughter or a mother or father or whatever. Life is stressful. We have roles, we have responsibilities. Coping is normal. But as we evolve and as we upgrade, as we go through this awakening journey, our coping strategies become more like meditation, going for a walk, turning off our phone, taking a weekend of no responsibilities to ourselves, having Sundays off from all social media. Coping can look like nutrition, hydration. It can look like doing a cleanse. It can look like going on a retreat. It can look like taking a yoga class. That's how we cope, because life is stressful sometimes. And a lot of times there's so much that is out of our control. It's the relationships, it's the politics, it's the workplace, the shit that we cannot control. So what we can control and how we can manage this is by having healthy and sustainable coping strategies. We move from patterns that don't serve us into wildly grounded patterns that do. So I hope that this helped you today. I see you, no shame. We're talking about it. We're moving through it together. I've got my stuff. You've got your stuff. Here we are. I'm so proud of you. And if this stuff resonates, I do highly recommend On the Path. It's the private community, all the resources, the weekly practices, the monthly themes. Right now we're doing Rich and Rooted in May, and it's so, so good. The private space. There's also the retreat coming up in September. The excitement. I can't even. I'm just going to leave that there. So sacred, limited spots. It's going to be so incredible. The link is below. I'm going to leave it there. I'll probably do a whole episode about it soon, but I am really excited, and I will see you in the next recording. Hey, thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I really hope that it served you. So before you go, I want to share something with you. If you're loving these conversations about self-growth and healing and moving forward, and you're really ready for more tools, more implementation, more integration, more structure, more what do I do? I invite you over to On the Path. This is my only private community, and honestly, it's the place to be if you want to integrate, if you want to deepen your journey and you find my work helpful. Here's the vibe: bite-sized practices, ongoing support, deep dive episodes, weekly practices, monthly challenges, literally just keeping you on your path, showing up for yourself day by day, week by week, month by month. So this is where you really put it into action, and I've got your back with these assignments, tools, practices, shifts, deep dives, meditations, journal prompts, and literally everything you could need to carve out your unique journey of self-growth, self-healing, and transformation. So I'm not going to go on and on. If you feel called, you feel called. And if you check below, because you made it all the way to the end of this, you'll find a link to join On the Path for the first month for only $11. So after that, it's just $27 a month and you can go at any time. Okay, my love, I genuinely hope this episode lit you up, and I can't wait to welcome you over to On the Path, and I cannot wait to see you also in the next episode. Thanks so much and have a great day.